जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी। जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी। जय गोपी जन वल्लभ गिरिवरधारी। जय गोपी जन वल्लभ गिरिवरधारी। यशोदानंदन व्रज जन रंजन। यशोदानंदन व्रज जन रंजन। यमुना तीरा वनचारी। यमुना तीरा वनचारी। जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी। जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी। जय गोपी जन वल्लभ गिरिवरधारी। जय गोपी जन वल्लभ गिरिवरधारी। यशोदानंदन व्रज जन रंजन। यशोदानंदन व्रज जन रंजन। यमुना तीरा वनचारी। यमुना तीरा वनचारी। जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी। जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे। हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे। हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। हरे कृष्णा कृष्णा हरे हरे। हरे राम राम हरे हरे। हरे कृष्णा कृष्णा हरे हरे। हरे राम राम हरे हरे। हरे कृष्णा कृष्णा हरे हरे। हरे राम राम हरे हरे। हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे हरे। हरे राम राम हरे हरे। हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण हरे हरे। हरे राम राम हरे हरे। हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे हरे। हरे राम राम हरे हरे। हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण हरे हरे। हरे राम राम हरे हरे। हरिनाम संकीर्तन की जय। श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय। सुदेवा। हरे कृष्णा। आप सभी का स्वागत है श्रीमद् भागवतम कक्षा में। हम पढ़ रहे हैं सात। We are reading from 7th canto, verse chapter 1st. Verse number is 25th. Just wait a minute. Yes, we are reading from 7th canto, chapter 1st, verse number 25. यन्निबद्धो अभिमानोऽयं तद्वद्धात् प्राणिनां विदवदः तथा न यस्य केवल्यात् अभिमानोऽखिलात्मनः परस्य दाम कर्तुर्हि हिंसा केनास्य कल्प्यते। यत्, in which, nibaddha, bound, abhimana, false conception, ayam, this, tat, of that body, vadhat, from the annihilation, praninam, of the living beings, vadha, annihilation, tatha, similarly, na, not, yasya, of whom, kevalyat, because of being absolute, one without a second, abhimana, false conception, akhilatmanaha, of the super soul of all living entities, parasya, the supreme personality of Godhead, dam kartu, the supreme controller, he, certainly, hinsa, harm, kena, how, asya, his, kalpyate, is performed. Translation: because of the bodily conception of life, the conditioned soul thinks that when the body is annihilated, the living being is annihilated. Lord Vishnu, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is the Supreme Controller, the super soul of all living entities. Because he has no material body, he has no false conception of I and mine. It is therefore incorrect to think that he feels pleasure or pain when blasphemed or offered prayers. This is impossible for him. Thus he has no enemy and no friend. When he chastises the demons, it is for their good, and when he accepts the prayers of the devotees, it is for their good. He is affected neither by prayers nor by blasphemy. Purport by His Divine Grace Sri Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Jai Prabhupada. Because of being covered by material bodies, the conditioned souls, including even greatly learned scholars and falsely educated professors, all think that as soon as the body is finished, everything is finished. This is due to their bodily conception of life. Krishna has no such bodily conception, nor is his body different from his self. Therefore, since Krishna has no material conception of life, how can he be affected by material prayers and acquisitions? Krishna's body is described herewith as Kaivalya, non-different from himself. Since everyone has a material bodily conception of life, if Krishna had such a conception, what would be the difference between Krishna and the conditioned soul? Krishna's instructions in Bhagavad Gita are accepted as final because he does not possess a material body. As soon as one has a material body, he has 4 deficiencies. But since Krishna does not possess a material body, he has no deficiencies. He is always spiritually conscious and blissful. Ishvara Parama Krishna Satchidananda Vigraha. His form is eternal, blissful knowledge. Satchidananda Vigraha, Ananda Chinmaya Rasa and Kevalya are the same. Krishna can expand himself as Paramatma in the core of everyone's heart. In Bhagavad Gita, this is confirmed. Kshetragyam chapimam vidhi sarva kshetreshu bharata. The Lord is the Paramatma, the Atma or super self of all living individual souls. Therefore, it must naturally be concluded that he has no defective bodily conceptions. Although situated in everyone's body, he has no bodily conception of life. He is always free from such conceptions, and thus he cannot be affected by anything in relation to the material body of Jiva. Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, Tanaham dushtah karuran samsareshu naradhaman kshipami ajasaram ashubhan ashurishu evayonishu. Those who are envious and mischievous, who are the lowest among men, are cast by me into the ocean of material existence, into various demonic species of life. Whenever the Lord punishes persons like demons, however, such punishment is meant for the good of the conditioned soul. The conditioned soul, being envious of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, may accuse him, saying Krishna is bad, Krishna is a thief, and so on. But Krishna, being kind to all living entities, does not consider such accusations. Instead, he takes account of the conditioned soul's chanting of Krishna, Krishna so many times. He sometimes punishes such demons for one life by putting them in a lower species. But then, when they have stopped accusing him, they are liberated in the next life because of chanting Krishna's name constantly. Blaspheming the Supreme Lord or his devotee is not at all good for the conditioned soul. But Krishna, being very kind, punishes the conditioned soul in one life. For such sinful activities and then takes him back home, back to Godhead. The vivid example for this is Vritrasura, who was formerly Chitraketu Maharaja's great devotee. Because he derided Lord Shiva, the foremost of all devotees, he had to accept the body of a demon called Vrita, but then he was taken back to Godhead. Thus, when Krishna punishes a demon or conditioned soul, he stops that soul's habit of blaspheming him. And when the soul becomes completely pure, the Lord takes him back to Godhead. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namah. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadameyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pristhaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Nitinamine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Vaschati Deshatarine Mancha Kalpatarubhescha Kripa Sindhu Bhaivacha Patitanam Pavnebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah हे कृष्ण करुणा सिंधु दीनबंधु जगतपते गोपेशा गोपिका कांत राधा कांत नमस्ते तप्त कांचन गौरांगे राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानु सुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे Hare Krishna. So welcome all of you in the Srimad Bhagavatam class. Today we are reading from 7th canto, chapter 1st, verse number 25. I would like to read translation again. Because of the bodily conception of life, the conditioned soul thinks that when the body is annihilated, the living being is annihilated. Lord Vishnu, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is the supreme controller, the super soul of all living entities. Because he has no material body, he has no false conception of I and mine. It is therefore incorrect to think that he feels pleasure or pain when blasphemed or offered prayers. This is impossible for him. Thus, he has no enemy and no friend. When he chastises the demons, it is for their good, and when he accepts the prayers of the devotees, it is for their good. He is affected neither by prayers nor by blasphemy. So, this is spoken by Narad Muni, Shri Narad Muni. So here he is stating that the human being, we as the living entities, are more often deluded into the bodily conception of life. We think that I am this body and anything which is in connection with this body is mine. Even though great philosophers are deluded into this. But Krishna and his body are not different. That's why the word here used is Kevalya, Kevalyat. His body, Krishna's body and Krishna, they are not two different things, not two different aspects. It's absolute. It's same. They are same. Therefore, it is said that he has no false conception of I and mine. That's why it is incorrect to think that he feels pleasure when someone glorifies him, or he feels pain when someone blasphemes him. Therefore, Krishna does not require any external things to boost up his ego. Generally, being a living entity, we require external things to boost our ego. We require so many things. We're always into brands. Oh, I like this brand or that brand. Every time into brand, we show off. Sometimes even we get more confidence when we are wearing a particular brand, right? We move, we can feel that while walking, while moving into the streets. Yes, I'm something special. We boost our ego to show off that I am wearing this brand. But we often forget that coffins don't have brand. Even if we do have, I don't know how will they advertise their brands. But still, many times we boost our ego using external things. Even wearing the saffron cloth, it can be used both positive and negative. Or the color is saffron, simple, because it reflects or it indicates renunciation, and more importantly, the color of the dust of the lotus feet of Krishna is also saffron. That's a saffron. It indicates dedication, it indicates surrender, humility. But if taken otherwise, yes, it can make you feel proud. Right? So, generally, living entity, when it's glorified, Jai Jai, is totally bewildered, totally lost, totally deluded. When he's into self-aggrandizement. Example comes of Indra. Indra was when in heaven, he was accepting glorification, he was accepting puja from his subjects there, and he was totally into it, and then suddenly his guru Brihaspati arrived there. At the advent of Brihaspati, Indra ignored him. Why? Because he was too much absorbed into it, this glorification. And what was the result? We all know, which were being offered to him. But Krishna is not affected neither by glories nor by when someone blasphemes him. For example comes of Bhrigu Muni. Muni arrived at the place of Brahma. Brahma was very much pleased. Oh, my dear son, you have arrived. But Bhrigu Muni didn't pay any heed to Brahma. He just neglected him, ignored him, and went ahead. So this hurt Brahma. My son didn't pay any attention to me. Anyways, what to be done? Bhrigu moved ahead. He sensed that Brahma has felt offended in his mind. He went ahead. He went to Lord Shiva's abode, who is actually his brother, because both of them are son of Lord Brahma, Shiva and Bhrigu. So Shiva was also very much pleased. Oh wow, my brother has arrived. He went to embrace him. But Bhrigu Muni stopped him. No, don't touch me. Why? Because you have so much abominable things on the whole your body, on your whole body. You have smeared ashes. You had which ash of the crematorium, ash of the cremation ground. So don't touch me. You have applied impure things on your body. Lord Rudra, Shiva, was very much angry. How he can say that? But Parvati consoled him, Mother Parvati consoled him. Don't do anything. He is ultimately your brother. Okay, Brahaspati got that. But Shiva is being affected. He has become angry. So he left that place also. Then he went to Lord Vishnu's abode. Lord Vishnu, who was lying on Anantashesha, Mother Lakshmi massaging his feet, his lotus feet. And Bhrigu Muni, when went there to Vaikuntha, he kicked on the chest of Lord Vishnu. And when kicked, instead of being angry, instead of chastising Bhrigu, contrary to that, Vishnu asked forgiveness from Bhrigu and he expressed his concern for Bhrigu. He said, "Isn't your foot have been hurt? I'm sorry I didn't welcome you, but are you not feeling any pain in your foot? Because my heart, my chest is very strong like stone, but your feet are very soft, so it may have hurt you." Seeing that, Bhrigu was totally overwhelmed with emotions. He said, yes, he is the Supreme Person of God, Supreme Personality of Godhead. Why? Because he is not being affected. I kicked him, but instead of him, he is worrying about me. Bhrigu Muni offended Brahma mentally. Bhrigu Muni offended Lord Shiva verbally. And he affected Lord Vishnu physically. Out of all the three, the offense which was committed to Lord Vishnu was the foremost, was at the highest level. But still, Vishnu was not being affected. Why? Because he is not under the three modes of material nature. Krishna and his body are non-different. He has no false conception of I and mine. That's what is saying, Narma is saying here. Second example is of Jagai and Madhai. When Madhai, Madhai was about to hit Nityananda Prabhu with earthen pot, Jagai stopped him. They don't hit him. And when Jagai stopped him, Nityananda Prabhu told Chaitanya Mahaprabhu that this Jagai saved me from Madhai. And hearing that, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu embraced Jagai and gave him Krishna Prem. And when Madhai saw that, he received Krishna Prem, not me. We committed everything, every sin together. And later on, when Madhai was also purified by the Lord, Madhai expressed his grief. Madhai could not forgive himself. He expressed himself to Nityananda that I am such a sinner. I committed so many offenses towards you. But Nityananda Prabhu said that all offense that you committed towards me, I didn't accept that. I didn't took them seriously. As if when a child kicks his father didn't take that seriously. And or even when a son or a daughter, a child takes the names of father, the father didn't consider that, oh wow, my child is glorifying. No, it is not effective. Similarly, when devotee or any living entity, when blasphemes the Lord or even takes the names of Lord is not effective. But when a child takes name of his father does not feel that he is being glorified, but he can feel that love. He can feel that bond. Yes, this child is connected to me. The child loves me that's why he's taking my names. Similarly, Lord also knows that this person, this living entity, or this devotee is taking my names because he loves me. In that case, Lord is effective. Yes, he loves me. And why is taking his name? He's not giving any remuneration for that. Because he loves Krishna. Or at least trying to love Krishna. That affects Krishna. Yes, this person loves me. And it's not that Krishna is very egoistic, as it is written here. Krishna has no such bodily conception, nor is body different from himself. He does not need our glorification. Or he does not, yes, he say that worship me, glorify me for us. Not that he need that. It's not that Krishna is saying, oh, I am the Lord, I am the Master, worship me or you will go to hell. Whenever you come to temple, you should lie down before me because I am the Master, you are my servants. No. Oh, put your nose into the dirt, crawl to me, kneel down. Do you have got callous? No. Again, offer your obeisances. On the day of Janmashtami, my birthday, I will feast 56 bhoga, 108, 108 and 1008 bhogas, and you will fast. I am the master, you are the servant. No, it's not. He is too egoistic. You may think that due to our deep-rooted materialistic desire, that those tendencies. But it's a loving affection. Because as soon as the perspective of relation comes, we start seeing things differently. Krishna loves us. For example, as discussed earlier also, that there is a bond, there is a loving relationship. For example, relationship of father and son. Father knows that this son is my part. He has come from my body. So we have a connection. Similarly, we are also part of Krishna. We are parcel of Krishna. So there is a bond, there is a connection, there is a love. So that love affects Krishna. The problem is we have forgotten him. It's not that he has forgotten us. He knows us, he remembers us. He wants us back to him. But unfortunately, we have forgotten him. And even when we chant, we are as if dragging the Mahamantra. Hare Krishna, especially when rounds are remaining at the night time. It's totally austere to chant those rounds. Hare Krishna. Like a squeaking door. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. And we think that this chanting is too much. Like climbing a huge mountain. Sometimes even doing a round, when half a round is done, we take a break. Okay, half round I will do later. Half mantra I have done, half mantra I will do later. And take breaks in between. So, but still Krishna is very much pleased with that also. At least we are trying. At least we are trying to chant. At least we are trying to take his names. Even if we take one step towards him, he takes 10, 100 steps towards us. Krishna says, Tesham eva nukampartham aham jnana jamatama nashyami atmabhavastu jnana deepena bhasvata. So when a devotee tries to come closer to Krishna, Krishna who is staying in the heart of a devotee, in the heart of a living entity, he removes that darkness of ignorance. He brings the light of knowledge into that heart. Why? Because Krishna is more enthusiastic to bring us back home, back to him, more than us. We may be not that much eager, we may be not that much enthusiastic, but Krishna is more enthusiastic. He's more eager to bring us back home. As soon as we take shelter, as soon as we take holy names, he is ready like anything. Oh, this person is interested in me. I will bring him back. We can read in scriptures, we read in Shastras that how much happy Krishna becomes when he sees, oh, this living entity has come back to me. He's come back to the spiritual world. Because he knows how much suffering we have to go through in the material world. You have to go through so much anarthas, you have to go through lust, you have to go through anger, greed, envy, pride, illusion. So much. You have to face so much suffering. And still, we are strict to devotional service. We are strict to austerities. We stick to the principles of pleasing Krishna and devotees. Krishna knows that. And that's why when we go back home, back to Godhead, he will embrace us. Oh, how much I was waiting for you. Where were you? But we as a living entity, the problem with us, we always put dark glasses of materialism. We try to think everything everything in the perspective what we experience here in the material world. You think, oh, Krishna must be Krishna or any God, means God must be a cruel person who is just playing with us, especially when something bad happens with us. He's playing with us. We are just for his entertainment, and why he's doing so much things to me? Why he's doing bad to me just for his own pleasure? It's not like that. Krishna loves us. As it is written here also in the commentary, Prabhupada writes, he's referring to Bhagavad Gita shloka, those who are envious and mischievous, who are the lowest among men, are cast by me into the ocean of material existence, into various demonic species of life. So one may think how cruel Krishna is. That if you don't surrender to me, I'll send you to the hell or into demonic life. Your mother will be a demon. Life after life. I will rot you in the hell. One may think how cruel Krishna is. We're just trying to impose our material experience on Krishna. Like how boss is cruel in this world. But Krishna is not cruel. He's a loving person. Why is eager to bring us back to his world, his spiritual world? Because he knows that we will be happy there. There is really happiness. There is really enjoyment. There is really excitement. Because in material world, it's so boring. It's so boring. Because that's why we are always trying to add some colors to our life. We are always trying to bring some excitement in our life. We are always trying to bring some change in our life, new things in our life. We are always trying to explore new things. Why? Because we are bored with this consistency. We are bored of that constant things. Same things again and again. Waking up daily, brushing our teeth, taking bath, going to jobs. So what we do? With the whole weekdays, we're waiting for weekends for party, for going to some hill station, night parties. We will have lights there, colorful lights, disco, dance, or at least we'll go hillside. Why? To bring some change, to add some excitement, to add some colors. Because naturally speaking, material world is totally boring. And we all have experienced that. Even if we go to hillside, we climb the mountain, what we do there, up there? We just sit. And when we are bored there, we just come back. That's the reality. So basic condition of this world is that we are all suffering. Yes, we are taking many efforts to do some sense enjoyment, and we are doing many efforts to somehow or other experience happiness, pleasure through various ways, through our senses, 5 knowledge acquiring senses, tongue, eyes, nose, ears, skin. We are doing so much efforts to take pleasure through our own senses. But how much limitation do we have? We can enjoy through these 5 or 6 senses only, including mind. But what about the rest of the body? It's totally meant for suffering. Just for example, does kidney gives us any pleasure? No. But even a slight stone is there in kidney, it gives us so much suffering. So practically speaking, in very few percentage, the body gives us pleasure. Otherwise, the whole body is meant for suffering only. Yes? Krishna's only intention and desire is to take every living entity back to Godhead, because he knows that we are suffering here. He don't like us being totally depressed. He don't like that we are totally depressed here, totally in miserable condition. He will also feel happy. He also feels happy when we are happy. So that's why he wants us back home in his association, so that we can together enjoy. But problem is, do we really want to go there? But because devotees many times say, or the newcomers, do we really have to go there? Means initially we are very means initially we like Krishna consciousness very much. Wow, it's so wonderful. But later on, slowly, as gradually the time passes, do we really have to follow this Krishna consciousness? Do we really have to follow these 4 regulative principles? It's such a austerity. Can't I follow 3.5 principles? Or at least 3.25? And why do I have to go to spiritual world? I don't even know anyone there. What will I do there? I don't have any friends there. Oh, you have. Krishna is our friend there. Krishna knows us. We know Krishna. And more than that, we have many old friends there whom we have forgotten. What we will do there? Do we really have to milk cows there? Or we have to do farming? Being in a city life, we are not used to that. Do we have to lift cow dung cake there with our own bare hands? Okay, being a Brahman is fine, like a Madhu Mangal, eating just only sweets, just giving blessings to everyone. That's okay. But being a cowherd boy or girl, quite austere. You can't even imagine that. But practically speaking, we will enjoy that, being in the spiritual world. But we are totally, material conditionings are so much deeper into us, so much deep rooted, that even if we see a tambura or a tanpura, condition is that we will make it electrical or mobile app. Effects of material city life. So do we really want to go to spiritual world? Because we joined Krishna conscious movement on a very serious note. Yes, I will practice Krishna consciousness. But gradually we start feeling, oh, it's very difficult to follow the principles of devotional life, the 4 regulative principles. Prabhupada's test, back to Godhead. Even the name of the magazine is also back to Godhead. We have to go back home, back to Godhead. Even Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, Mama Janmani Janmanishware. Again and again, taking birth in this material world. In the mood of servant of Krishna with devotional service. That's later on. First develop the desire of going back home, back to Godhead. Yes, I want to go back home, back to Krishna. At least start cultivating that desire. I want to go home. I want to go back to home. This is not my home. This world is not my home. From so many births, I am in tribulations here. I am in anxiety here. I am in this rotten state of life. Cultivate that desire. And when that desire is there, when you're working on that desire, then later on comes Mama Janmani Janmanishware. That's a higher stage. And even if we desire that Mama Janmani Janmanishware, don't worry. Krishna will take us back to Godhead. And for that, going back home, back to Godhead, we need to change our heart. Because just changing the attire, just having the devotional clothes on, Just having Vaishnava clothes, Vaishnava tilak, kanthi mala, that does not make us a devotee. We have to change our heart. It's not that we have dressed ourselves as a devotee like a covering, and deep within we are still that materialistic person as we used to be. No, that doesn't work out. We have to at least try to give up certain aspects of our life. We have to say goodbye to certain aspects of our life which are unfavorable to devotional practice, and we have to embrace some devotional qualities. At least you have to try to, so that we progress on this path. We should try to learn, we should try to read, we should try to explore the qualities of Krishna, the qualities of spiritual world, the qualities of devotees, the relationship between Krishna and his devotees. We should try to read, we should try to acknowledge, we should try to explore. Because when we try to acknowledge those qualities, then the desire will develop. Yes, I also want to be there. I also want to be with them. Because desire comes through hearing. It all starts with Shravana, hearing. Develop some appreciation. And it's not like that we are into too much. It's when Bollywood song is being played, we're tapping our fingers, we're tapping our hands, we're tapping our foot, and suddenly we are chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram. No, it's not like that. Suddenly from darkness to light, just switching on the button. It's not like switching on a button, it's a process, it's a gradual process. We have to start reading, we have to start listening about Krishna, about the spiritual world, about our home. And before we love Krishna, we have to start appreciate Krishna. Because love will not come unless we appreciate. We cannot superficially do devotional service. There's a saying in Marathi, Devacha asta karun gya. If you will not do it, you will get a heavy reaction. Krishna will be very angry. It's not like that. It should come from within. You have to bring that genuine desire to acknowledge, to learn, to glorify the pastimes of Krishna. We have to acknowledge the appreciation of Krishna. We have to appreciate Krishna genuinely. We have to appreciate spiritual world. We have to appreciate his devotees. We have to appreciate that connection between them. And when we will start trying that, then things will take place. Then, what do you say? Transformation will start. And then you will feel the real bliss. And then even we will not be affected by blasphemy and glorification. Because at that moment of time, we will not be in the bodily conception of life. As Krishna is not in the bodily conception of life. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Granth Raj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Nitai Gaur Premanande. Hari Hari Bol.